All right, welcome back to some McKirdy trained videos. I am joined with Craig Lutz. He's a McKirdy trained coach. He's been with us, gosh, how long have you been with us? Now about 3.5 years almost? 2.5 years?
Yeah, I think three.
Yeah, just about three.
Yeah.
So Craig has been a coach within our system for quite a while, and he's worked with many different levels of athletes at different goals. But primarily, Craig works at HOKA ONE ONE. So I wanted to bring him on here and talk a little bit about his life as an athlete and talk a little bit about what he's doing for work and what HOKA is doing now and what it is they got coming into the future. Hopefully we get some tidbits about what might be coming up in the fall and into the spring and of next year. So Craig, thanks for taking the time and spending a little bit of your morning with us. First, let's talk a little bit about your background as an athlete. You grew up in Texas, right?
Yes. Yeah, Dallas.
Dallas. All right. So what was, when you were training back in the day, what was your primary event when you were growing up?
Yeah. So, quick plug. When I started running, it was with a group called Marathon Kids. They started out in Austin. So my elementary school was, I guess, not necessarily sponsored or more or less maybe partnered with their program when they first started. And so they would, through a portion of the year, have kids run up to 26 miles during their, I guess, event, if you will, at 800 meters at a time or maybe a mile here and there. Yeah. So you over the span of a large period, you would run a marathon. But their big thing was teaching kids proper diet and I guess more or less families proper diet, and then just being active and getting out there and running. And so that's where I started. And some of the little 800-meter runs and stuff that we would do. One of them was at, I think it was either the kickoff or maybe the finishing one. It was at the Mike Myers Stadium at Texas on the track there. And so you just ran 2 laps, and I took it really seriously and, ran it all out. And so just from something like that, and then finding opportunities here and there via other sports and getting onto a track team, a summer track team in Dallas when we moved from Austin up to Dallas. I just started to realize like running was something that I was good at and was interested in. And I played baseball for 8 to 10 years of my life and really loved that. But then it got to that point where you had to decide, do you want to start going into kind of select ball, getting on that club team, or did I want to focus completely on running as my middle school years were, or as I was getting closer to high school? And I chose running. That seemed to be the thing that I was the best at that time. And my dad, who'd been working in the restaurant industry, had quit doing that and started up a club in the Dallas area called Lake Cities. And it was pretty light at first. We had a few. There were a few kids that came from the track team that I was on to join this, and so we had. I think my first year we had just enough to be able to run AAU nationals with a. I think it was like the youth level or team or something out of like 11 to 12 or 13, 14. And yeah, I mean, we had a ton of fun, and my dad was learning about running as quickly as he possibly could to try to help coach and put these kind of trips together and stuff. And so I had a decent amount of running before I got into high school, but it was always focused on just running. Like it, I guess at that age you're just kind of running the mile and the 2 mile, but at no point did I ever feel like there was really too much of a mileage plan. There wasn't, workouts were pretty much based on just getting us out there and running hard at, in intervals based on time and just keeping it really easy and having a lot of fun with it. And, but that all did kind of come together to set up a really nice high school career by the time I got there.
So do you remember the first time you raced a mile?
Yeah, so Congress Avenue Mile in Austin, I was 7. I think my dad claims that I was 6, but I'm pretty sure I was 7. But it was like the peewee age group of these kids just running down Congress Avenue in Austin, just straight through downtown. Some had their parents, some don't. And I don't know, it's not quite as much a State Street here in Santa Barbara, but it's a fair downhill for anybody that's either in Austin or familiar with that race. It doesn't happen anymore, unfortunately. But you're standing on the Congress Avenue Bridge a mile away from the Capitol where you start at, and you can definitely tell like it's a good uphill. So, but yeah, that's the first memory of really my first like true competitive race that I ran. And granted, from that point moving forward, there weren't that many races from then until middle school. But yeah, that was a really good experience. It was fun, and having a street lined with people watching these. I'm sure it was ridiculous to people to see such little kids running down the street, but it's moments like that where it was like, oh man, this running thing's like pretty cool.
So your dad, he didn't really know running that much until you started getting involved with it then.
Yeah, so he was a 3-sport athlete in high school, and then played college baseball at Murray State. So his interest really started off with general strength, and I would say like his practice when he first started was and it still is there for general strength for any sport. So he works with a lot of clients in the Dallas area now on he's worked with specifically like baseball players individually working on their speed and strength and throwing form. But he's worked with football players. He helped a guy get through I think it was the SEALs, one of the more specialized ops, like testing to just get into the program. He helped to get through that. One of the tests was like, how far could you throw a ball while on your knees? And I'm guessing that has some sort of degree of like, if you can throw something from your knees this far, then you're this strong. I don't know. He thought it was ridiculous, but yeah, he helped the guy like get better at that. But running is running and training around that is his passion now, and he really likes it. So yeah, starting off, it was very book reading as much as he could and listening to other coaches. He worked with my high school coach on just like having meetings and learning about it as much as he possibly could. And I think the youth age group was a really good area to start with, because you really are just trying to develop and teach what running can be, and just trying to set that kind of foundation. But a lot of these kids are multi-sport kids, which he prefers. I mean, he enjoys having soccer players come in. He finds soccer players to be, some of the best to train because they're already so aerobically strong. And so certainly started off as a learning with a learning curve there, but yeah, he's very established now and really enjoys it.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you mentioned soccer. I've had that experience as well, coaching at the high school level. It was always fun when we got to track season to see what soccer athletes wanted to come out for track, because they would always do really well, anywhere from the 100 meters all the way up to the 2 mile,
Right.
which was a lot of fun. Even Don Cabral, before he really started getting into distance running, I believe he played soccer. Now, Don is a 2-time Olympian, 2-time Olympic finalist, 8th in London and in Rio in the steeplechase, but his roots started with soccer. I hope I'm not mistaken on that, but I don't think I am. I better not be. I'm from the same state. So you ran as a youth. You did well in high school. You won a national championship for cross country. How was that transition for you as an athlete from high school over into college? Did you have a good experience immediately, or was it hard going?
I definitely had a good experience on that transition. I did show up, and I hope some of my Texas teammates from that era of the team see this. I showed up to camp.
So.
I wasn't I wasn't doing any of the little things that I had to be harped to do during high school training. And so yeah, I showed up a little out of shape, and it took a while for things to click and workouts to really start to stick. And you're also living in the dorms, and so it's you're eating everything and not sleeping that well. And So yeah, it took a little while. Plus, which I was already used to, but you never really get used to it. The heat coming out of summer training in Austin, you have 2 months of still being in 90 degrees, and so put all this together. And I specifically remember one of the seniors on the team, BRD, Brian Rhodes Devey. He pointed out, like, after I'd had a really good workout, he was like, man, we were starting to wonder if we'd gotten the right Craig Lutz on the team, because I was suffering through those first couple of months. So, but fortunately in the NCAA world, you don't really have to worry about your fitness until the late parts of the fall. So, things came around, and I was able to turn that season into an All-American finish at Cross. And so,
as a freshman.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so it certainly got better, but it was a rude awakening of showing up and realizing, like, wow, I'm getting my ass kicked to like 10 guys on this team right now who are right now want it way more than I do. And so it was a wake up call, and certainly a good foundation to my collegiate career to kind of have that happen then. And so, rolling forward from there, I feel like those were the moments that helped me the most.
Yeah. So, as you're growing, you're developing, you have a quality NCAA collegiate career. And pardon me for one moment, for those of you watching, the computer is connected to Heather's cell phone. So every time you hear a ding, I can't help it. So you have a great collegiate career, and then you end up on the HOKA ONE ONE NAZ Northern Arizona Elite Team. So how was that transition from a collegiate all the way to becoming a true professional?
Yeah, so for me, I'll just say in general, that process is, there definitely could be more pros maybe even the teams that are set up behind company. And Rosario goes to it every year, and they choose six to eight post collegiates to come out and learn about the process, and talk to coaches. Like I said, Rosario goes out there, and different companies will come and help with this. And I cannot remember the name of the clinic, but those kind of things are in place. But it would really help if we had more people speaking about this process, because I fortunately had a coach that kind of knew. Brad Herbster, he had a good idea of when I said what I wanted, which was that I wanted to leave Texas and join a team. I wanted to continue to be in that team atmosphere. He told me, okay, here are some that I already know. Let's find those contacts and begin emailing out. So where in high school, when I was coming into college, it was like July 1st was back when I was coming through. That was the start to talk on the phone day going into your senior year. And, they call you during that time. But when you're leaving college, like, yeah, those opportunities are there, especially for the top guys. As a 10K runner, I was fourth in the NCAA time and place at the NCAA outdoor meet. Had certainly picked up a lot of good PRs during my senior year, but I still wasn't good enough to expect that coaches or companies were going to come after me. I had to do that work on my own.
That's interesting. You finished fourth in the NCAA. Imagine if you were the fourth best point scorer in basketball, right? Totally. A completely different sport, completely different environment.
And a big thing too is that 10K. If you're fourth in the 15 or fourth in the 5K, and in the NCAA now, fourth in the 5K specifically probably means that you ran, I should say time-wise, ranked in the country. You've probably at this point broken 1330, maybe 35 during that year. 1500, same thing. Like, you're already getting on starting lines with the top guys. 10K, my 28:33 from that season came from the Stanford meet, as everybody's does, and which was great. I competed well during that race, and it certainly helped me kind of get ready for the rest of my season. But when I at NCAA's finishing fourth behind Ches Jenkins, and then Jason Witt. The race went really well. Granted, it was Eugene. It was a little warmer of a day, and who's trying to hammer at 25 laps? So the time from that wasn't that great. But from my season 28:33, I still have 45 seconds to improve upon my time before I'm even Olympic A eligible.
Yeah.
So whereas in the 15, the 5K, and obviously other events like sprints and stuff at the NCAA level, you're already running those times. So that jump is really tough, which is why you're immediately on the roads as a 10K guy coming out of college. Like, you're on the roads, and who's complaining? That's where the money is. But that transition is really tough. And so I had already set my mind. I wanted to join a team. So I reached out to your, basically few options out there, specifically at that time. And it's a little bit better now, but the few options that you have at that time where companies are backing these groups, and just fell in love with Flagstaff, the NAZ team as a whole, and really had a strong connection with Ben Rosario. And so that was big. And then at that time, being able to have a company like HOKA supporting that group as much as they were and still are, was huge. I mean, that the amount of faith and trust and just overall investment that HOKA was putting into the group, and like I said, still is to a high degree, is a great recipe for development.
Yeah, your career path has been very interesting, from youth to high school to collegiate to professional. Your time with NAZ, with Ben, and with the teammates, and you even earned a national championship at a professional level. I mean, it was all it. From the outside, it seems seamless. Obviously, there were some great times. There were some hard seasons as well, because I think every professional runner goes through that. But now you work with HOKA, so that's an interesting environment to be an athlete for the company, but now be a HOKA employee representative. So walk us through what you're doing now with HOKA and your job and what it is you guys are trying to accomplish.
Yeah, so it's been a really fun journey. Something we can talk about in a little bit. When my excitement for running, especially on the professional side, was really wearing off, kind of the sports marketing director, Mike McManus, and I had a really hard talk about it in Flagstaff. Where am I going to be in 5 years? Am I going to make it through another Olympic cycle? Am I even running to the level where running through another Olympic cycle makes sense? And he brought up the idea of an internship. And to be honest, sounded really, really good. I was thinking like, wow, I've really enjoyed working or running for this company, and working for them would be awesome. I enjoy the running world. I enjoy the running scene and all of these pieces. And so I thought, this is a great opportunity. So, that was a hard conversation. Talking to Ben Rosario about it was a very hard conversation. And so I took it, and Meg, my wife, and I moved to Santa Barbara, and I started the 6-month internship, and was still running at the time, still on the NAZ team. And Ben and I kind of put a holder in it saying, after you're done with this, let's figure out if you're going to keep doing this. Like, he was, being the greatest guy in the world, was still holding a spot on the team for me. And so fast forward 6 months, I finished up the internship and took a full-time role with HOKA at that point in time. And so I decided that I definitely didn't want to keep running professionally, and wanted to take a little bit of a break from that side of running, but was, blessed with the opportunity to be able to jump into to the marketing department at HOKA. And so now, as my job has developed there, I'm on the go-to-market team, the U.S. go-to-market team specifically. And, our overall job as a team is to take the product and everything that comes around it in terms of campaign assets and current product assets to go along with, everything that kind of gets packaged into that piece, and taking our brand story and communication and wrapping it all up and taking it out to the wholesale or with some of our e-com partners, wholesale accounts where we are working with our field marketing reps out in the field, where they kind of implementing these pieces. And so around shoe launches and different campaigns and stuff, we're basically helping to wrap all of the different assets and pieces that HOKA develops, put it together and send it out to the consumer.
You have a very interesting and unique perspective that I imagine many employees of any brand might not have, because coming from a professional side where you got the opportunity to test out prototypes, to test out ideas and concepts, to give your thoughts as a professional runner. Hey, this feels like this. Can we try this with the shoe? You have that input in a different way, I would imagine, than many other employees. I think that's a really unique perspective, because now you're on the opposite side of it, where you're working with reps and as well as some athletes to bring to market the different shoes. Do you ever miss that athlete side, or are you very content with where you're at now?
Yeah. So you and I have talked about it a couple of times. My Strava doesn't hide the fact that I have been trying to get back into some sort of reasonable shape. So yeah, there is definitely times where I miss it. Whether it's watching a race video that gets posted by Runner Space or anybody on Instagram, and you see a little clip of it, you start thinking like, oh man, those were the good times, getting to race and being in a tip top shape and running as hard as you could. Those are moments where you definitely think back to like, wow, that would be great. I assume it's a very similar feeling internally as somebody who retires in a major sport, who just you watch them go back and forth between seasons thinking like, oh, they're going to retire now, and then they don't, or they come back and keep competing. I imagine that it's very similar, and why I understand why other athletes do that. Unfortunately, with the running world and how specific of a sport this is, if you take 6 months of very hard time off and drink a lot of beer, it's very tough to get your body back around to it if you're not completely selling yourself into it. But I feel like now I've at least gotten myself back into enough shape where I can go, run a Strava segment as hard as I want, and try to have those little victories, and satisfy myself that way.
Well, listen, I will say you're coming back into shape is a little different. You might have had 13:30 legs in the 5K, but I'll say your 15:09 in Atlanta on that 5K, the weekend of the Olympic trials, was pretty special, especially since you had so much going on with NAZ and other HOKA athletes competing for a spot on the Olympic team, and getting a spot with Alafine. So it was fun. It was fun to kind of track you from where we were to see you take the victory in that, to see you break tape. Now you did say that you took some time off. How much time did you take off?
Yeah, it was definitely, I mean, it was around 3 months of like not doing anything. And then it was about another 3 months of kind of running occasionally. The weight, like my weight, it exploded very quickly, which, as Meg reminds me all the time, beer just doesn't just fall off the body. And so during those first 3 months, like I was enjoying the fact that I didn't have to really pay attention to what I was eating or drinking whatsoever. And then I did run enough to be able to accomplish a 24-24-24 challenge, which kind of took my little bit of fitness and my lot of bit of drinking beer at the time, combined them together, and I was able to get through that 24 beers, 24 miles, and 24 hours challenge in 23 hours. But those first 6 months, yeah, it was pretty much just like, mentally speaking, just removed from it.
Yeah.
And that was enough time to make me think like, okay, well, I need to start running again. I tried a couple of other activities out. I do cycle a little bit more now. not a little bit more. I cycle now. I've never done that before in the past, but I went through a lot of ups and downs with trying to get back into running. I would either not do it long enough to get over the hump of feeling good, and then take another 2 weeks off, or I would do it enough, but then lose motivation very quickly and just, take another month off. So that roller coaster was going on. But now I feel like I'm in a good spot where I at least know that I can go do 8 to 10 during the day and just, and be happy with that. And maybe I get workouts in occasionally.
Well, I've been following along the past few months, and I saw that you had been doing some miles specific work. And then obviously we started with the McKirdy Miles series that we put together, and HOKA has so graciously become the presenting sponsor of the series. So what are your plans for the McKirdy Mile? What are your predictions of what you're going to be able to accomplish?
Yeah. So if you asked me a few weeks back, I felt a lot better about it. I've been, like I said, I've been biking a lot more. I'm definitely in one of those lulls of motivation right now, and I think it's just it's been a little bit of this work from home situation. When it first started, I was like, oh, look at all this time I have to run now, and I think I went a little overboard with cycling and running doubles and just trying to pick it up a little too quickly while also not taking care of my body. So I think I'm hoping that by the end of the series, I can accomplish my goal, which I'd set out just simply for April, which was to get back under 420 in the mile. On Strava, probably about a month ago at this point in time, I split a 429 on a just a segment that I was going after against a local Strava runner. We've got a little bit of a rivalry going. And so I took that and was like, okay, I think, if I do some specific work and continue to just keep my mileage where it is, I think I can get back under that 420 mile, which is important to me because that would mean that I'm faster than freshman year of high school Craig again. And so that was supposed to be an April goal. That may just now become more of this mile series goal, is just see if I can get under that. Now I know we're not allowing track miles, so I have to find that good stretch of road to get after it on.
Yeah, that's the hard part about this series. It's something that we just can't trust GPS on a track,
Yeah.
and because we're going on GPS data, we don't want to have an athlete run 3 3/4 laps or 3.5 laps and have that be called a mile. So the best option for us, even though it might not be absolute, is to have that stretch of road.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Right now, as we take this phone call, we have over 1,600 registrants, which is wonderful. We're so happy that it's taken off so well. And like I said earlier, HOKA has really become the presenting sponsor. HOKA's given away shoes to the winners, gear, backpacks, hats, and socks, overall prizes. Honestly, it's thousands of dollars worth of gear for the series, which is great. And the fact that we have so many people that are a part of it, as fast as hopefully right around that 4-minute mark, all the way to, I think the slowest registrant right now is 21:43, who might be, I think, 3 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We have some youth. We have
That's
some
awesome.
youth. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. So is there anything with HOKA coming in the pipeline that you guys are able to talk about just yet?
No, I mean, I didn't, for this aspect of this interview, I didn't talk to who will probably either see this or get an email about this at some point in time. Our PR manager, Martha Garcia / Miranda, they I don't want to dip too much into the future of HOKA product, but I will say that this summer, we have certainly reevaluated our comms calendar and how we're launching things based on this current climate. For anybody that follows me on Twitter knows that I've been using that a lot lately. But we, as a company, have certainly listened to that, and it, basically seems like everybody is doing the same thing, making sure that we're not launching shoes during a time when people are hurting, and when people are, not really looking for that message from a company. They're looking for those positive stories and uh, athlete content for uplifting, and motivational pieces. But when things do start to roll, we've got a great line of updates, new shoes and whatnot, starting in about July/August. And so, a lot of really exciting things. And I think as an overall piece of the whole entire running world, I'm sure a lot of companies are going to be doing the same thing. We also are probably going to, granted, we don't know what's going to happen in the fall, but when things turn back on and mass participant group outings are allowed to happen again, I think we're going to take this boom of running training and turn it into some of the most incredible race results and race participation and just ultimate, overall booms of the running industry. And so I'm hoping with that comes a lot of competition between brands, and a lot of competition obviously in the streets. It'll be interesting if it ends up happening this way. We've got like 5 major marathons happening in 8 weeks, and so it's going to be the fall is going to be a crazy time if everything if everything ends up working out for them.
Yeah, it's I'm excited to see what the future holds. I am, because I think what athletes do now sets themselves up for success, not just 6 months from now, but a year from now, a year and a half, 2 years from now, from a professional standpoint, as well as the novice, I just want to run standpoint. I'm excited for the Carbon Rocket X to be released. I mean, what the NAZ team did with Alafine, with Steph Bruce, and with Kellen Taylor, oddly enough, running on a broken leg, not knowing that it was broken, was just tremendous with Scott Fauble and Scott Smith and Sid performing at the Olympic trials, with Jim Walmsley finishing 16th. At the trials. It was just phenomenal to see all the HOKA athletes do so well. So when that shoe does launch, I think we're going to see some good looking shoes on the roads.
Yeah, for sure.
So, well, listen, I'm not going to take any more of your time. Thank you so much for spending time with us to let us understand a little bit more about you and introducing HOKA to so many people. And for sponsoring the McKirdy Mile Series. It's going to bring a lot of joy to a lot of people, and we're really excited about it. Have a great day. Have a great rest of the weekend, and we look forward to seeing you accomplish your 420 sometime over the course of the series.
Yeah, thanks, James.
All right, man. We'll talk soon.
All right.